some of the players have been out in the community this week talking. Tyrese Campbell indicated he might be fit, so what's the injury update with people?
The only player really, Stephen Ward, is still unavailable to us. Ryan has trained this week, which has been a big positive for me, a big positive for the squad as a whole. We have to be careful with him as well, but other than that, other than the longer term ones, obviously Thibaut's situation and that, everyone else is fine, other than Thibaut and James, obviously, who are a little bit longer term.
Do you have any indication how long James will be out?
I think probably we're sort of 4 to 6 weeks is kind of the indication we have. One thing about James is we'll know everything possible to get back. So yeah, we've given him a week to, a little bit of week recuperation for him and his family, and we'll see him on Monday. But as I say, hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. Not
wanting to dwell too much on last Saturday's game, and you talked at the end about game management, but Stoke seemed to become a Jekyll and Hyde team, and again we showed our sort of soft underbelly, if I can say that. When we were 2 up, we seemed to capitulate. Is there anything that you can do other than go through the footage and talk to the team, or is it very much dependent on the players' DNA, how they handle that?
I think as your responsibility as a coach and a manager is to try and help them as much as possible, and that's what we try to do. Obviously we review the game. Sometimes you have to review the game in a critical way. Sometimes you have to be a little bit softer in your review of the game. I think in the game last week in particular, the disappointing thing was, as you rightly say, is that we gave 2-goal lead away very easily before half time, and then I thought we re-established ourselves in the game after that. But then the disappointing thing was the nature of the third goal was very preventable as well. And I think what I've found and seen in the team is that we have been a little bit vulnerable in games at times. I think that's probably a confidence, a belief thing, given the season that has been. But what we have reinforced to the players is that we need to lose that vulnerability as well. That we need to make sure that, because we have put ourselves, certainly in my time, in a winning position in a lot of games. We haven't won all of them, of course. But I do think that the players, they know themselves that they have a responsibility in that situation. No one intentionally, obviously, makes errors, but I think that we have to make sure that in what remains of the season, I think the final 13 games of the season, that we show that resilience that has obviously seen us come from the bottom of the table, obviously, to the position that we're in now.
You've talked about the final 13 games of the season, and it's the business end, as everybody calls it, of the season. Realistically, if Stoke win 5 or 6 of the matches, you would expect them to be safe, and given your track record since you've come here, that's eminently achievable. Have you set yourself targets on points, or are you just going match to match?
No, I don't think we haven't set ourselves any targets. What we did show the players, we've consistently showed them the table in terms of form, and I think over the last 13 games, I think we would be 7th in the table. So that shows you the nature of the league in relation to winning, how many games you can expect to win in that period. So a replication of that form would obviously, hopefully, mean that we are safe. But we're not going to set them any targets, because what we have to do is address the current situation, which is that we've lost 2 games. The most important thing is to try and, when you're in a little run of losing games, is to address it as quickly as possible. What we have seen in the league is teams slip into, and every team seems to slip into that type of run. So for us, we have the chance to address that tomorrow with the home game here against Cardiff, and then obviously the games that lie ahead in the week. But we have to just focus on the game ahead. But we know that if our form is somewhere along the same lines that we've seen, certainly in the period that I've been in, it should be enough to obviously avoid finishing in the bottom 3.
When you look at the setback we had, and you've talked a lot about how the Championship is up and down and how anybody can win at any time, and then you see how the defence didn't quite handle the situations last week. Are you tempted to think about resting 1 or 2 players? I know you've said Ryan is available and you've got to be careful with him. Are you looking at making any changes?
No, not particularly. I just think we have to be careful in relation, because I do think in a back four you're always looking for consistency. The disappointing thing for us is we've lost 10 goals in 3 games. Before that we had only lost 8 goals and I think we had 5 clean sheets, so there was a consistency coming into with the back four that we had played. I think that we have to sometimes believe in the players when in moments like this as well. Also, players on the periphery of things have to push to get into the team as well. We have to see that aspect. So I'm not one for making wholesale changes in reaction to defeat. We have to look at what the consistency of the team, I think, has given us over the 18 games that I've been in, and believe me, I would have liked to have done better than we've done at times, but I think what that consistency of selection has given us a belief to as a team to go and win games from where we were in the early part of the season. So we look at the options. Sometimes injuries have forced us to make changes, but we won't make, if we make some changes, it'll be of the minimum.
So on to Cardiff. They've not got the greatest away record, done well at home, but it's still a match that we're going to have to, I know you say it every week, but we're going to have to perform really well to get anything out of. Yeah,
it's no different from any of the other games. They're in a good little run of form. They're in a comfortable position in the league in terms of, I suppose, one of the few teams that I'm sure they harbour ambitions to maybe push for a top 6 position. They're not. It doesn't look like they'll get dragged into the relegation situation either. But they've been consistent, and Neil's got results, particularly in recent weeks. Got results away from home as well. So I think we have to match. I thought in the game down there, for large portions, we were the better team, but we didn't really have a cutting edge. They're a team that kind of hurt you at set pieces as well, so we're well aware of that. But our focus has to be on ourselves, our own performance. I felt we played very well here at home to Charlton. I thought for large portions of the game against Preston we played well as well, so that's what we have to draw on in terms of the level of performance tomorrow. And as I said to the players, we can't really control anything that's going around us other than our own level of performance, and at times you can't control the result. But what we are in control of is our level of performance, and that's what between now and the end of the season we have to strive for, to continually try and raise that, and obviously strive for consistency as well.
It's quite ironic how everybody is talking to people that Cardiff have a long throw that might do damage to this football club, and I'm sure that most of the players here will know, given Ryan's previous history at this club, how to handle long throws. Have you done anything special on that?
Yeah, we've obviously looked at it in terms of the analysis of the opposition. We go through in the training pitch how to deal with that. But it's like anything, you can practice defending corners for 100 corners, but ultimately you have to defend each one as if it's the first one, and so we're aware that we will face a threat, we will face balls in our box. The players know that they're going to have to compete. We lost 2 goals here against Preston, which were they got the break of the ball in the box, but it came, I think, we have to look at ourselves and say, could we have dealt with that better defensively? So yeah, I think we're very aware of how important set pieces are in the game, and obviously tomorrow we have to make sure that we're tight on that we don't concede off that, because ultimately sometimes when you're on top in the game, losing a goal by that nature can really make it difficult for you, and psychologically make it difficult for the players as well. But no, we're well prepared obviously for and know what to expect tomorrow.
And we've got another midweek game, and I know that you've said you don't like changing the team very often, or you want to remain consistent, but it does appear, looking historically over the matches this season, that we struggle after a Saturday game midweek and the subsequent match. So do you have any thoughts looking forward to the next match, or are you just concentrating solely on this match?
No, concentrate solely on this match. I do think that I have seen teams in the Championship make changes to their team with that in mind, and it has not necessarily worked for them. I'm more about where we can get real consistency in the team, continue with that, and so when we make changes, look, we have to consider where the players are in relation to levels of fatigue, but our fitness data would indicate to us that we have a team that has good running power in it. We don't see The likes of players who have played consistently, the likes of Joe and Sam Clucas in midfield, for example, their numbers are as high as ever. Their numbers are high on a daily basis as well. So I think we have a bit of resilience in those areas of the pitch where players can go and play. The reason probably where we've lost midweek is possibly more in terms of where our focus has been or how we've lost goals in those games, but they're all things that we consider. You're right, how you get through a 3-game week is always a challenge, there's no doubt about that, but the most important thing is I think you have to deal with each game as it comes.
So no 6 changes for us tomorrow then?
No.
Last one from me. Most people think you prefer a 4-3-3 system given the injuries that we have in the squad at the moment. Do you feel you've got to tweak that and play a different system, or are you just prepared for anything?
Obviously, we have a little issue on the left-hand side with James and Thibaut being unavailable to us. So those are things we'll have to consider. I think that you always have to be prepared to possibly play players maybe not in their favourite position at times, but you have to believe, and we've done work on the training pitch in relation to that. We believe players that we can slightly adjust the system if necessary as well. But no, I think you're right. 4-3-3 is my favourite system. We've played with a 1 and a 2 when we came in terms of the shape of the midfield. We're now playing with a 2 and a 1, or have done. So we're not doing anything too drastic in terms of how we change the shape of the team. Overall, I think we've won just under 50% of our games, which is, I think, relatively seen as good form in the Championship. Certainly I would like that percentage to be higher. But I think the players believe in that system. I think it suits the players better. And we just have to compensate for, the 1 or 2 possible little, obviously, absentees that we have at this minute in time.
Thank you, good luck.
There are a number of similarities between Stoke and Cardiff at the moment. I mean, they've beaten West Brom recently, as of Stoke, but they lost badly at Loftus Road, and as did Stoke. But in many ways, that their long unbeaten run and their recent away record beating Huddersfield and Luton, must be a concern for you.
It's not a concern, because that's what you deal with in the Championship. At the end of the day, we can't control the form of the other team, only when we play them. So we've played teams that have come in good form before and obviously dealt with it. We've played teams that possibly have come on the run of bad form and possibly came here and made it difficult for us and got a result. So we just have to play what's in front of us, which is a team which is, as I said, in a reasonably comfortable position in the league, that have changed their manager, as we have in midway through the season or earlier part of the season. So we're aware that they've had some decent results, but equally, as I said to you, if you looked over a period of time in terms of form, our form is actually better than theirs. If you look over the last 13 games, our form. So those are things that we have to re-emphasise to the players as well. So I don't envisage that it'll be any different from playing Barnsley, who are currently bottom of the league, to playing a team in the top 3. This is the nature of the league, and we have to make sure, as I say, that we focus on what we're in control of, and that's our level of performance in the game tomorrow.
You reckon they should be more scared of us than us of them?
I'm not really bothered whether they're scared of us or not. It's not a case of who's scared of each other in terms of that. One thing we hope is that we don't play with any fear, and that's more down to ourselves than obviously the opponent.